Hey guys, my name is Ryan and welcome to Overwatch Central. It's just me this time whilst I try out a pretty experimental video. Now, we've been asked to do VOD reviews for quite some time, and VOD reviews and coaching are pretty much all the rage now, but I thought I'd take the master series that we do where we talk to very good players and very good heroes and sort of bring it to a next level. In this video, I want to compare some of my average Reinhardt footage to a game Numlocked had on the same map. Instead of going through each game play by play, looking at what I did do and what he did and didn't do, I thought I'd look through the game a little bit more closely and select some current trends between mine and Numlocked's playstyle. This is a bit of a pilot, we might do an Anna one down the line, stuff like that. I'll tell you how to submit your footage if you want to get involved at the end of this video, but some of these things have a lot to do with playing Reinhardt, but also more than that as well. So it's definitely worth watching how the top 500 players play in comparison to my useless ass. So to talk about Reinhardt first, the first area that I really noticed and highlighted when I spoke to Numlocked about this was shield management. Looking through some of my gameplay, you can really see how often I have my shield up in situations where I don't really need to. I think this is more of a fear thing. When you have roadhogs hooking you out of nowhere and insta-killing you, and anti-heals, stuff like that, you're constantly a bit more reserved and conservative with using your shield. But think of Reinhardt's shield almost like a Zarya barrier. You don't want to use it or have it up preemptively, instead you want to bring it up in those situations where it counts. When a lot of damage is being thrown at you specifically, and grenades, roadhog hooks, strong ultimate, stuff like that. I mean, look how much damage Numlocked is allowing himself to take before he brings up his shield to fight. And this mostly comes down to just having your shield for when you need it. The worst thing that can happen to you as a Reinhardt is letting your shield break. And once that shield is broken, it's easily telegraphed to the enemy, who could then earth shatter, hook, anti-heal. They can do whatever you want to you. So taking 100 to 200 of that spam damage before disengagement isn't the end of the world. It also gives your Anna, Lucio, Zen some ult charge as well. You just want to be a little bit careful if they have a Widowmaker and your team is reliant on that shield. But again, we're going to go over this in a little bit. They shouldn't rely on your shield too much. So you just need to be aware on what abilities are on cooldown, and so long as you can bait and block key abilities like the hook and Anna grenade as we went over, you want to be saving as much shield as you possibly can before those team fights start. Now, team fights brings me on to the second point, and I really want to review both of these defenses on the second area of this map. Starting with mine, as you can see in the top right of the footage, after I died, the majority of our team died just afterwards, and just after the point was taken. I pulled forward and tried to set up at a very common point of defending because the soldier's already there. Now, the issue with the other player that's up there, he kind of did what he wanted a lot of the time, stood in unconventional places, and as you've seen, he got killed by the Winston, and I'm left pretty much on my own. Because I'm out of position, and I held my hands up saying it was an awful position, I get killed fairly quickly, stalling our defense and basically fighting with our backs to the wall for the rest of this point. We gave them so much of this area for free because of how we were stalled and staggered. Comparing this to Numlocked, his team sort of died together, so those that died first set up on the high ground, meaning that they're a little bit more protected, and they can group up and take the shuttle. This is something that our whole team failed to do when setting up as a group, and it had a lot to do with Reinhardt's playstyle. There are 2 to 3 areas of engagement in this area of the map. There's right by the doors as you're coming in, which you can hold if you want to be super aggressive. There's the air shuttle on the high ground, and then there's the final choke just past it. For the attacking team, you want to fight tooth and nail for these sections of the maps, whilst the defending team tries to defend these engagement areas, whilst knowing when to give them up and to back off. Basically, when you're defending, you want to make sure that you don't have your backs to the wall like I did in this game. Because of how late spawns were, we couldn't fight in the airship. I should have waited for spawns and set up shop on this corner, but me getting killed in no man's land meant that we were already on the back foot and we couldn't fight as a team, and we lost this point pretty quickly. The final trend I want to go over here is aggressiveness. Shielding yourself and your team is important as Reinhardt, but the main difference between the two playstyles is how aggressive Numlocked is compared to me, even on defense. To talk about dive comp real quick, a real counter to the triple DPS dive is to play the exact same comp against them on defense. If you thought the best offense is a good defense in Overwatch, then you're sadly mistaken, especially on these pure payload maps. At GM level, most players learn to look after and protect themselves to some degree. The Anna and Soldier are on the high ground, and the rest have a sense of self-sustain. You should always rely on a Reinhardt to protect you, but not 100% of the time. Knowing the difference between when you should shield and when you should swing is paramount to getting the most out of Reinhardt. And of course, Numlocked's game sense when it comes to this is spot on. Aggressiveness is also key on attacks in situations like this. We took the second point in convincing style, but should have been quicker reacting on punishing the late spawners. It's not something that defines a win or a loss here, but it certainly makes pushing that final point a lot easier, especially if you can stagger them. I mean, that's what our whole team failed on our defense, right? We were constantly punished and staggered by the enemy team pouncing on us. When it comes to the ultimates, fire strikes and charges, there wasn't too much between the two games. This is what we mean when there's a big difference between the sort of master and GM level. And there are three major things to focus on here. The first is shield management, or more so be aware of overusing it on taking damage on it for no reason. The second is a full team tip of knowing engagement points on a map and being able to fight around them. I have a good feeling that most of you know these points, but you just need to be a little bit stronger when it comes to engaging on them. And lastly, learn to play much more aggressive on Reinhardt, knowing you should punish bad positioning of the enemy team, and never play passively on defense if you can help it. But here is a tip for not only Reinhardt players but all players still watching this. Take risks. Make these mistakes and fuck up constantly, because the more you make mistakes, you learn never to do that kind of stuff again. And sometimes taking these risks might actually pay off, and you realise that they're not really risks to begin with. You don't get better by constantly playing well. You get better off those games that you completely sucked at. But if you're not aware of what you sucked at in those games, then it's kind of a waste of time, isn't it? But that's it for this time. Thank you very much for watching. If you're still here at the end and want to send in some of your footage, again, this is a pilot. We may never do one of these ever again. So do let us know if you enjoyed it in the comments below, and like this video as well. And any sort of tips and critique on the system would be good as well. Right, so when it comes to sending in footage, we have overwatchvids@gmail.com. You can see all the info on screen. Full games are beneficial. Quality needs to be pretty good, 720p or 1080 preferable. And in the email, put what hero you are playing and what level that you are at. Again, it was a much more experimental video, so if you do want to see another one of these, let us know in the comments below. And let us know what hero you would like us to go over next time. Maybe if we go over Anna, I could grab Josh and talk a little bit more about that. But until next time, take care. We'll see you then.